Hello, students. This is Mrs. Villa, and I'm going to read a read aloud for you for this coming week. Each Monday, we will post a new story for you to read for the week. I would like for you to work on your six square throughout the week. You can do 2 boxes a day, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, and 2 on Thursday. On Friday, I would like for you to do a plot chart and also make a paragraph out of what you wrote on your plot chart. Make sure to have at least 5 sentences, and also make sure that your topic sentence is a really good topic sentence for your paragraph. Okay, so the book for this week is called The Button Box. It's written by Margaret S. Reed, illustrated by Sarah Chamberlain. My grandma has a special box. I like to play with what's inside. Okay, so inside the box, looks like there's a lot of buttons. I swirl the buttons round and round, and then I pick the ones I like. 10 have flowers painted on them, just like Grandma's china dishes. I like to sort them first. So here's Grandma's china dish. Next, I look for sparkly buttons. I pretend they're jewels that once belonged to kings and queens and movie stars. Some buttons are covered with cloth, satin, velvet, or corduroy. They make me think of fancy clothes. There are metal buttons from overalls and jeans, leather ones from cowboy shirts and sweaters. This one looks like Grandpa's winter coat. Grandma says these small ones came from shoes worn long ago. Next, I sort the shiny buttons that come from uniforms. I line them up like marchers in a big parade. The one with the eagle I call Mr. President. Okay, so here's Mr. President. I pull out all the pearly ones and make a rainbow pattern. When does little change to big? I can never tell. Some buttons have 4 holes, some 2. Some don't have any sewing holes. They have shanks instead. These make good eyes on puppets or stuffed animals. Because there's your shank. Sometimes when Grandma sorts with me, we play a special game. We stir the buttons, shut our eyes, and then we each take one. Grandma asks, "Are they alike?" Mine is wooden, so is hers. Both are round and flat, but hers is thick and mine is thin. She puts my button on a string. "Whirl it around," she says. The string twists up. I pull the ends. We listen to it hum. Grandma tells me what some buttons used to be. Some were seashells, some were even sand. Big furnaces heat the sand until it melts. When it cools, it's glass. Wooden buttons come from trees. Deer shed their antlers every winter and grow new ones in the spring. I like the buttons made from their old horns. Okay, so here's the seashell, and here's the antlers. When it's time to put the buttons back, I pretend I'm very rich, counting all my gold. I like to feel the buttons then, the bumpy and the smooth. I like the way they sound, clickety, tappity, falling through my fingers, one by one, into the box. Then Grandma puts the box away where it will wait till next time. I wonder who first figured buttons out. Okay, so at the very end of the book, there is a little section titled Buttons Who Invented Buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and read that as well. It's just a little bit of history on buttons. No one knows who first figured buttons out, but when archaeologists dig up towns and cities thousands of years ago, they find pieces of stone, bone, clay, and metal that look like buttons. For a long time, buttons were used with loops. Then, about 800 years ago, someone thought of fastening a piece of clothing by making a slit in it and slipping a button through. The buttonhole had been invented. Around the 13th century, kings and couriers began to wear buttons to show how rich and important they were. One French king had a suit covered with 13,600 buttons. Laws to keep ordinary people from wearing fancy buttons didn't last long. Over the years, button makers carved, stamped, and molded buttons from ivory, pewter, glass, and a variety of other materials. Artists painted pictures of everything imaginable on buttons. Men wore buttons with pictures of their horses or dogs on them. Cut steel buttons sparkled on ladies' gowns. Tiny pearl buttons decorated children's clothes. During the American Revolution, patriots refused to buy English buttons, just as they refused to pay a tax on tea. Paul Revere, of the famous Midnight Ride, made fine silver buttons. Special buttons were designed for the inauguration of George Washington. Although people still say buttons to use over and over, today many people collect them just for the fun of it. Okay, so that was just a little bit of history on buttons. So don't forget to complete your 6 square this week and also do a plot chart. We do have an example of our 6 square and our plot chart on our website. Under the reading tab, there is a section called Anchors of Support, and that is where you will find it. So I hope that you enjoyed my book this week, The Button Box, and I look forward to reading you another story next Monday. Thank you. Have a good night.